Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Friday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Friday. I'll be going solo until we have Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel join us. He was at Florida Media Day yesterday. We'll get his thoughts on some of the comments that Coach Mullen and the rest of the staff made, along with some of the other players. The Gators kick off fall football practice 10 a.m. this morning. It is here, folks. It is here. If you got any texts, shoot us a text. Be happy to answer any of your questions or comments. Also, any comments here on Facebook Live. Last night, I don't know how many people tuned into the Hall of Fame game between the Cowboys and the Steelers. I watched about 3 series of it. It's hard to watch preseason football, I ain't gonna lie, but it's pretty cool. They had both last year and this year's Hall of Fame class there. You know when you're getting old, when guys you played with went into the league at the same time or now going into the Hall of Fame. So you know you're an old dude when it starts happening like that. So, but congratulations to all those guys. Obviously, they're all very worth it. I don't know if y'all saw the piece on Jimmy Johnson, how they did him this past fall in the studio there at Fox. It was pretty cool just to see his reaction. But anyway, again, give us a shout out here on Facebook Live. I got a text here on the Titanamore hotline. Let's see who it came from. But first, before we get to that, as I said, the Gators start practice today. Also, JC, we're not going to have him today, and he and I screwed up for whatever reason. I didn't think they were playing on the tour this week, but it's the FedEx Championship in Memphis. Harris English, the Georgia Bulldog, leads that right now, but we forgot our Peachland Dental weekend golf picks. On the Titan MRI text line, Daryl says, "Good morning, guys. Checking in from the Keys." Rough life there, Daryl. "Just got through cleaning fish and going to find some lobsters." Well, that's great, Daryl. Hope you have a good time down there in the Keys. And I'm trying to pull up my Facebook Live thing here. Oh, there it is. Okay. Technology, folks, technology. But we're going to have Edgar Thompson. As I said, we're going to be talking about what happened at Media Day yesterday. He'll be joining us about 8:15. In the meantime, I'm curious if y'all are still watching the Olympics. I think the U.S., if I'm not mistaken, won in the women's volleyball. I think they won the gold medal. As if you missed it, Grant Holloway a couple of days ago did not win a gold, but won a silver medal. I think a lot of people were surprised. I think he was surprised. But hey, anything can happen in track. These world-class sprinters, it's amazing what can happen. And that guy just, man, like a jetpack the last few meters. Cliff says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Being a Cowboys fan, it is nice to see Jimmy Johnson and Drew Pearson inducted to the Hall of Fame. Long overdue for both. Also, Cliff Harris, old-time Cowboy, went in as well. So there were a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers inducted as well as Cowboys. The one guy that I didn't recognize was Alan Faneca, the great offensive lineman from the Pittsburgh Steelers. When they introduced him, I mean, he looks like he's 155 pounds. Guy's in tremendous shape, also lost a lot of weight. And so it's pretty amazing, the transformation of his body. Sandy says on Facebook Live, just came back from the Keys, Daryl. Had a great time. The water was crystal clear. Charlie says, I watched some of the 50K walk. Those guys were walking faster than most people can run a mile. I've never watched that, but it does look funny because they are walking extremely fast. Don't forget, if you got any questions for Edgar Thompson about the Gators, he was there with Coach Mullen and some of the players yesterday. We'll have him here in just a second. Got a text on the Titan MR text line. Where'd it go? Doesn't tell me who this is from. but it says HBC was so funny on Paul Feinbaum last night. He trolled Texas again, and he's so excited about his gridiron grill opening on Wednesday. Yeah, he's as we know, we've been talking a lot about the Spurrier's Gridiron Grill for a long time, but it is opening to the public. The grand opening will be August the 11th. You better have reservations or you ain't getting in. Freddie Weeby, the rest of his staff have done a tremendous job. You will not be disappointed. I can promise you that. So appreciate that text. But yeah, Coach has been taking some shots at Texas saying, I think in the last 20 years, they've only won the Big 12 twice. So it makes them think they're going to be able to compete in the SEC. But it's a brand, and Texas is a huge brand across the country. Rick asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law. He's got an NFL question. In addition to the demographics, what determines the value of a team? Who determines which teams play on prime time? I don't know the answer to that, honestly, Rick. The values of the team, I think the team worth the most money in professional sports, I believe, is the Dallas Cowboys. I could be wrong there, but not really sure. Primetime games, they usually try to pick two pretty decent teams. They started changing it late in the year where they can flip some of those games and put them on the Sunday and Monday night games. I think they need to do that more often. But there's some teams that just never play on Monday night. I think every team should have a primetime game. And with Thursday night football in the NFL now, that helps out. Because a lot of people, I think the Thursday night games are on Fox and CBS now. At one time, remember, they were only on the NFL ticket. So if you didn't have it, you had to go to a sports bar or whatever and watch. And that's usually when they had the Bengals playing, people like that. So don't know the answer to that, Rick. I'm sure you do. Brian says camp starts today. So excited for the beginning of the season. Go Gators. Yeah, there's a lot of excited people. 10 o'clock, the Gators are cranking it up. Freddie says he just visited the Hall of Fame in Canton and surprised that there are only 2 Gators in the Hall of Fame. And that would be Jack Youngblood and Emmett Smith, I believe. I'm not sure. Lomas Brown should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's been on the ballot. Maybe somebody can let us know. But Lomas should be. He's played as long as anybody at the offensive line position, I believe, in the history of the game. But yeah, he should be in there. Maybe Wilbur Marshall. Wilbur Marshall is one of his teammates from the Super Bowl team. Jimbo Covert went in, if you saw that last night. So yeah, I didn't realize that, Freddie. Only 2 Gators. Cliff says, I am correct that the Cowboys are the top notch or the most expensive, whatever, franchise. And then the Patriots are number 2. Interesting. All right. We got a lot of people chiming in today. I appreciate it. Again, we have Edgar Thompson in a few more minutes here. But in the meantime, turn your car or truck into a rolling billboard for your business or brand with an eye-catching vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. This August, mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. We'll be joined, as I said, by Edgar Thompson on the Titan Tomorrow hotline here shortly. I'm anxious to hear some of the players. I saw some of the quotes from some of the players via Twitter, different people that cover them. But I want to jump in and see, what Coach Mullen. I want to know, are they having to practice very similar how they practiced last year with this COVID still an issue? So I want to ask Edgar some of the questions that he may have answered yesterday. But yeah, it's a fun time. Gators are cranking up pretty soon. Before you know it, we'll be in the swamp for that FAU game. Gosh, not too long from now. Let me get your thoughts. Did anybody watch the preseason game last night? I mean, it's boring as hell watching preseason football. And heck, it was boring when I played preseason football, but you have to have it. And that's where the owners make their money. So Brian says the Gators are a 24.5-point favorite over the FAU Owls in the opener. The total for the over-under opened yesterday at 53.5. If I'm not mistaken, I had a good friend of mine who he's a scout. And he said FAU, they're pretty decent, I believe he told me, on defense. But he said offensively, they are horrible. So should be a good night for the Gators in the swamp. Freddie says he wants to thank me for lending my my 2 Player of the Year trophies, and my Georgia Hall of Fame bus. Yeah, I got too much crap, Freddie, so I was glad to loan that to the HBC and you guys and put it in the restaurant. If you want to check out Ryan Edwards Sports, he's got a preview on the Florida Gators. Check that out. It's posted here on Facebook Live. I think not the Gators, but the USA baseball team, I believe, is playing for gold, if I'm not mistaken. I have had such a hard time getting into the Olympics. I don't know if you people have or not, but it has been very, very difficult for me to get into it. Charlie asked, Shane, what is the preseason camp schedule like for the players? Well, it's changed quite a bit now, because what they do is, and I think they still do this, Charlie, they usually go to a hotel here, and it's basically football from sun up to sundown. And, it used to have 2-a-days and 3-a-days. They are not allowed to do any of that anymore. So most of it is, as I said earlier in the week, the NCAA has changed the rules where you can't have back-to-back days where you can have contact. So, it's a lot of walkthroughs, a lot of meetings, lifting, not so much conditioning, but it's more lifting, keeping their bodies fresh, but it's a lot of mental stuff. And that's what's hard for guys at a young age, is to keep your mind focused, especially if you're not one of the guys participating in practice. If you're a backup and you're not on tape a lot, it's hard to keep, to stay focused and pay attention. But I don't think they have 2-a-days anymore, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, back in the day, we sometimes had 3-a-days, which is absolutely crazy to think about now. But they stay in a hotel. They don't ever practice at the practice facility. They're at one of those intramural fields over there near the softball. They used to go to the lacrosse facility. They don't use that anymore, but those intramural fields over that way, because they don't want to tear up the grass on the practice facility right now. So basically that's what it is. They bus over, get dressed, they bus to the practice field, bus back, shower, then they bus back to the hotel, have meetings, eat, all that good stuff. So not a whole lot of free time. They won't be having time to sign autographs and do NIL deals. I can promise you that. I think Coach Mullen and his staff, if I heard correctly, they basically told those guys, we're halting all that stuff right now. It is football and football only. Sandy says, well, first of all, Chris says, Florida Gator made an interception. Yeah, Donovan Steiner made an interception last night for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Lance says USA and Japan for the gold in baseball. All right. Sandy asked, you have to have a reservation for the opening day of Spurrier's Grill. Yes. What about if you just want to go to the bar? That's a great question. I don't really know the answer to that. You could show up, Sandy. I bet they won't make you leave. Let's go there. Brian says they're in a hotel this year as well. Yeah, they're always in a hotel. They got to get away, because back in the day, we didn't go to hotels. We lived in the stadium, Yon Hall, which was on the east side of the stadium. So everything was right there. But now kids are scattered all over the freaking town. And so they have to keep them in a centralized location and make sure they're getting their rest and paying attention and all that good stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a time out now. We're going to come back. We're going to be joined by our good friend Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. And we're going to talk about the Gators kicking off today, practice, and get his thoughts on some of the comments Coach Mullen, some of the players made. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avera and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Carter Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Bass Pro Shops, Nike, Le Macaron French Pastries, Palmetto Moon, and coming August the 11th, that's next Wednesday, HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors Tailgate and Rooftop Bar is opening up, and we will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. Sandy, I got word that the bar at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill is first come, first served. I believe you can eat at the bar. I'm not 100% on that, but I don't know why they wouldn't give you food up there if you get hungry. So anyway, we're going to go now to the Titan MR hotline. We're going to be joined by the Florida Gator beat writer for the Orlando Sentinel, Mr. Edgar Thompson. Good morning, Edgar. How are you, my man?
Hey, Shane. So are you doing that show from Spurrier's?
I will be doing my show here and there from the little studio in there, just depending on if I'm in town or what have you. Right now I usually do it on wherever I am, whether I'm at home or on the road somewhere. That's the great thing about Zoom. But when I'm in town, we're going to do it from the HBC's place, and should be a lot of fun. I know you've been there. It's a phenomenal place, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable. I am going to write a story on it that's going to run the day it opens. The thing I enjoyed most, did we talk about this? Was the wallpaper in the bathroom with all the plays. Mm-hmm. And his recall ability's amazing. Drawing up plays from games you played in and all kinds of just huge moments in Gator history. And he's got the whole play diagrammed. It's pretty awesome. You could stand in there and just like soak in a lot of Gator history. I mean, it's going to cause a backlog in the bathroom, I'm afraid, because people are going to be sitting there. Oh, man, I was at that game, or, oh, yeah, I remember that play.
There will be a lot of selfies taken in the bathroom.
It's pretty cool little idea, man. And then when I asked Coach, like, how did you remember? Just spend a few minutes jotting them down. I mean, it's like this stuff's on his mind like 20 years ago. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's got a great memory. Edgar, before we jump into most of what the kids talked about yesterday at Media Day, we got a Facebook Live from Sandy. And I want to know if Coach Mullen addressed this at all yesterday. She asked, is the capacity for Gator games still at 100%?
He said those, all that stuff's above his kind of decision-making ability. But I mean, they're full steam ahead as far as I know. We haven't heard anything from them. It's obviously a question that needs to be asked of Scott Strickland and those decision-makers soon, but I don't know that they're not going to rush a decision. The season's 4 weeks from tomorrow. So I guess they got to let it play out a little, I think. But yeah, man, it's looking a little dicier, obviously. Dan said the program, he was unsure of percentages of vaccination because you have to hit an 85% threshold as a program, or coaches and players need to be tested regularly and mask worn in the facilities. He said he thinks they've exceeded that number. He's not positive. He said the number within the entire organization is very, very high, and is confident that by the time everything gets rolling, they'll be clear of that threshold. But in terms of the capacity, it's a looming question.
If a player or coach is vaccinated, do they still have to go through the testing stuff weekly?
I don't know every protocol, Shane, in the sake of full disclosure, but I don't think so. But it's a program. I think as a program, once the season begins, you have to have this 85% threshold per SEC requirements.
What was during the SEC media days? Commissioner Sankey mentioned, if you don't have X amount of players, you automatically forfeit. What is that number? Do you remember?
It's 53 you have to have, and there's a certain number with like offensive linemen, and you need a center. You need like 7-0 linemen. You need this, that, and the other. Remember the requirements from last year? I don't have it in front of me.
Right. So it's the same requirements, but my point is, which I don't quite understand.
But then he was like, you could still play.
Right, because you have 120 kids counting all your, right now you got about 90 something scholarship kids because of COVID, more than 85. Then you got your walk-ons. So my point is, if that does happen, I mean, you probably ain't got a chance of winning. But if you lose like all your linemen, put some damn backup defensive linemen over there for the week, just to at least try to play the game, right? Wouldn't you do that?
Well, yes, I guess they're thinking injuries, maybe. I don't know.
Well, you got a better chance of winning the game trying to play the game than just forfeiting, is my point. I guess it depends on.
I'm following you, and it's unclear to me, Shane, because they are like, yeah, if you're not at this threshold or you don't have this certain number, but then you can still play the game if you want. So I don't know. Look, there could be outbreaks on teams again, like last year. We'll see. I'm less skeptical of that due to the vaccination rates that they're going to be. But Greg Sankey did say, and this was July 19th, so we're talking, it'll be 3 weeks ago Monday now, I believe. Is that 3 weeks? But anyway, I think it's 3 weeks ago Monday, that's only 6 of 14 SEC teams had reached that threshold. But that was 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure they're pushing to do it because he drew a pretty firm line in the sand there. So, yes, I think the Gators will be fine there. Gator fans and all that, I don't know. I will say this, and not being an alarmist or whatever, I mean, I do know people in the healthcare industry here in town, a few people, and I know friends who have friends and girlfriends that work at UF Health in North Florida. Hospital capacity is stretched pretty thin right now. It's very discouraging. Alachua County School Board is requiring masks of children starting next week. There's a bunch of teachers that have been infected. I mean, it's really like, it's not luckily in my world yet, and hopefully not. But yeah, man, it's around. And I mean, to think people are going to just, 6 weeks from now for the Alabama game, right? I mean, shoulder to shoulder, 90,000 in the swamp going nuts. I mean, it seems a big ask, but I just don't know. And I don't know what you can do about asking for vaccine proof and all these things. I mean, it's tricky, man.
It really is. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with our good friend Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. You can follow him on Twitter at OS Gators. Okay, speaking football, did anything jump out at you yesterday at Media Day when Coach Mullen was speaking? I mean, it's normal coach speak, but did anything jump out at you?
He didn't really fill up the notebook, so to speak. He played it pretty close to the vest. A lot of talk from everyone, though. We got about 7 players. A lot of talk about Emory's arm talent and just how, much velocity you can put on the ball. I mean, how far he can throw the ball. I mean, all these kinds of things about elite arm strength. And, I think that's a narrative that is being, discussed a lot, because I think a lot of people feel from the outside that this is a dual threat guy, which typically means good runner, so thrower, right? Isn't that what the connotation of dual threat means in your mind? Typically. I mean, not always, but typically it's like, yeah, a guy can really run, but can he really make the decisions and run the offense? I think that Emory's been in this system now for 4 years. He's got to have the system down, but his decision making and stuff compared with what Kyle Trask could do, that's kind of the measuring stick now, right? I mean, a guy like that who can just run the offense the way that Kyle did, that was one of his great gifts. But Emory's also going to be able to improvise and do some things, extend some plays. And, if they spread the field, he could pick his spots and pick up some yards running. So it's going to be a different looking offense. I mean, you're pretty knowledgeable on that front. I'm curious what your thoughts on how the offense is going to look. It's obviously going to look a lot different.
Yeah, it's not going to look like anything that you've seen the last 2 years. I think you're going to see more of the offense back when Tebow was the quarterback, or Dak Prescott, or Nick Fitzgerald, more run oriented, a lot of run call plays for the quarterback, meaning that when they do call pass plays, guys will be more open than normal because they have to account for the quarterback running. And I've said many times, I say about daily, Edgar, on my show, for us to be what we think they can be on offense this year is Emory just has to complete the easy throws. You mentioned it early, arm talent. I don't give a damn how great his arm is. If he can't complete the easy throws, it does us no good. When dudes are open, nice catchable ball, give the ball, put it in their hands, let them do the work. So I think Emory's going to have a really good year, because I think he's going to throw for about 2,500 yards, but he's going to run for a bunch. And his running ability is, like I said, going to allow guys to be open, and he's going to be able to escape the pocket that Trask could not do and make plays. So time will tell. You said it's his fourth. Is it really his fourth year here?
Yeah,
because he came with that, but he's still got three more years to play, right?
2.
Are
He's
you sure
a
about that?
redshirt junior.
Did you count his COVID year though?
Oh, well, if he wants that, yes. I mean, I did.
Right. Yeah, so he actually could be the starter of the next 3 years.
Yeah, the COVID year, I keep forgetting. But the way they list him, I mean, he's listed as a redshirt junior. I'm pretty positive. But yes, he could play a third year. He's 21 right now. We'll see if that's something that look, I saw something in the offseason. Everyone saw it. Some guy I'd never even heard of, some, scout from one of these websites, has him as a 6th pick in next year's draft.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He played 180 snaps. I mean, he's thrown like 90 balls and rushed about it. I think it's 92 and 86 pass to run ratio. But I mean, it's ridiculous. But I do think, I mean, he's poised to do some big things. I mean, we've seen Dan's track record. I mean, we can talk about it all day of producing successful quarterbacks, and he's had a lot of time with this kid. And I spoke with Emory one-on-one recently, actually, and he is definitely put on some weight. He's up to 212. He feels very comfortable at that weight. Shane, he was saying last year he was playing as low as 200 pounds. He said he'd play 6 plays and wake up the next day.
What's wrong with that? I played at 180.
Well, you're lean and mean, but he's going to be doing more running. He's going to do a little more running, and he said he would wake up after 6 plays and be sore. So he's like, I knew I had to build my body. I think, it's going to be interesting to see who emerges at receiver. I mean, every topic under the sun was covered. We asked him about Texas OU. We asked him about, there was a lot of COVID talk, obviously, just to kind of lock that down. But plenty of, about the offensive line. I mean, the defense was a topic. I think the front 7, I think we talked about this when I was on last time. I have real high hopes for the front 7. What the secondary does is going to be critical, but I think they're going to be very physical up front on defense, more so than we've seen.
Yeah, so let's go back to the receivers. Usually at Florida, guys graduate, guys just replace them. They may not be as productive, but they're still very good players. We lose 2 first-round draft picks. We lost a guy that could be one of the greatest players to ever play at Florida, most unique player I've ever seen in Kyle Pitts. As a guy that covers the team, Edgar, is there any concern at that receiver position for you, losing 2 first-rounders?
I mean, you're talking about the most versatile guy in the league last year, especially after Waddle went down and Tony. And then, Pitts, there was some tweet from the Atlanta Falcons yesterday. I mean, the guy's like extended, God knows how high he must have been high pointing this ball, one hand catching it. I mean, it's like he was an amazing player. I mean, 4th pick in the draft. So I think 4th, right? He's an incredible talent. You're not going to replace Kyle Pitts. You're not going to. I asked Dan who's going to make a Kadarius Toney-like jump. And he was like, well, there's nobody like him. But I meant more like just, is there a guy who's going to make a huge jump? I mean, Kadarius Toney went from a the get it to guy, they call it, to being like a number one receiver. I mean, he was unbelievable. I mean, I think he dropped like one pass all year. I didn't recall it. And someone's like, yeah, he dropped one against Georgia, but he was unbelievable the way he improved his hands. So if Jacob Copeland, great example, if he can improve his hands, he drops too many easy passes, don't you think? I mean, he had 5 drops last year, I read somewhere, and it at least felt like that many. I think that kid has got tons of tools. I mean, he's fast. He's really physical. I mean, the guy benches 400 plus. I mean, he's a specimen. Shorter walked in yesterday. The guy looks like an NBA power forward. I was joking with him. I mean, he has some size. And he was the highest rated receiver in the 2018 class, and he was a top 10 recruit when he went to Penn State. I think Trent Whittemore could be really effective in the slot. I mean, I think he could be a very good player, great security blanket. Xavier Henderson, I mean, he was a huge recruit, right? He's a top 75 guy. I didn't think he really impressed much last year, but what was he? Did he know the offense? I mean, how involved was he? And he's ready to take a step. This Frazier's kid from Denellen, I mean, I'm fascinated with him. He's a big physical specimen who played both ways in high school and was really a top guy coming out. So, and I'm forgetting guys. And then if you go to tight end, they got a slew of guys. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, Gamble and Zipper, I mean, they combined for like 5 drops in the Cotton Bowl. That was a bad performance, but those guys have a lot to prove, and you got some young guys coming in too. So this Elksness kid from Jacksonville is kind of intriguing to me for some reason. So, I mean, there are a lot of options, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities, but duplicating last year's effort from that trio is going to be hard to do, but you can do it by committee too.
Yeah, Nat says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mental Law, one name, Billy Gonzalez. And Billy's always done a great job with the receivers. And what just jumped out to me, and I just forgot about this, but you talked about Justin Shorter, big, tall, power forward-looking guy. Trent Whittemore, 6'4". The poor little guy, the Kadarius Tonys, we don't even have one of those on the roster anymore, do we?
Not that I can think of immediately. I mean, Copeland's 6 feet, but 6 feet. That's still. Yeah, I guess six feet is small nowadays for receivers. But my point is, there are no little Jaquez Greens, Kadarius Tonys running around out there anymore. These are some big dudes at wide receiver we have. Oh, there's big athletes, everywhere. I mean, Henderson's 6'3". Frazier's is like 6'3" or 4'2", 220. This Jamarcus Weston kid, you've seen some practices. That's one thing about camp that's going to be tough. And with COVID, it's totally understandable. And I hope it's not a permanent trend. But there's going to be no open viewing at all. None. So that makes it difficult to really even know what's going on. I mean, the first time we're going to see this team is going to be, September 4th against FAU. So that's going to be a little odd.
Yeah, Edgar, so I believe Damian Pierce was one of the athletes that spoke yesterday. You look at that running back room, it's really deep. You got 2 5-star guys, Lingard and Bowman from Clemson. My favorite running back in the entire room is Naquan Wright, who can do a lot of really good things. But do you see any issues with so many guys? As we don't know we haven't really seen Lingard or Bowman play football. We've seen the other guys, and they do certain things well. You see any issues in that running back room about not getting enough touches or not enough snaps?
It was a question for sure. And, how the vibe is, even in the receiver room too. You're talking, everybody wants targets, everybody wants touches. I did ask, I think, Shorter about the NIL, because you would think that could suddenly come in play, right? Name, image, likeness. And am I getting mine? Am I getting my touches? Am I getting to show my skills? He said nobody in the team's even talking about NIL. Now, they tweet about it. Well, they tweet about it. They do. And I think it's got to be something. Javon Dexter certainly does, but he seems to be, doing okay with it. But it is interesting because you're going to, that's a whole nother layer to create to the competition, right? But on your point on running backs, sure, these guys are, 5 guys looking for touches. You got Malik Davis. I think he's a great third down option. and he can run. I mean, I've always been impressed with his running ability, but he can certainly catch it. So he'll be a third down guy. You got Pierce. What's he going to be? Is he going to be a short yardage guy? Is he going to be your starter, setting the tone? Naquan Wright, I love his wiggle. He's explosive, accelerates really well. I like him. But then Bowman, man, and Lingard are like, according to Pierce, home run guys. I mean, Bowman's a sub 4.5 40, which is fast for a running back. The kid averaged 11.2 yards over 3 seasons in high school at Lakeland. He rushed for 222 in the state title game in 2018 against St. Thomas Aquinas. I mean, he is an explosive kid if he's healthy. He had a knee issue. He's got to learn the offense. And that's the Lingard question. Why wasn't he getting on the field last year? The speculation was he couldn't learn the offense. I mean, I have no idea if that's true or not. I mean, Dan never said it. No one ever told me that. But that's kind of the speculation.
Here's what I don't understand when they say he couldn't learn the offense. Okay, I played 3 years. Pretty much every year my running back is the all-time leading rusher. He didn't know our damn offense either.
Oh, Rhett didn't?
But no, he knew it okay. But I told him as we came out of the huddle what to do on every play, just to make sure. And, that's what I've never understood when people say so-and-so, and now it's a little bit different because they never huddle. So you can't really communicate and say, hey, make sure you got a post on this play or, you got a shallow cross. But as a running back who's always right next to the quarterback, usually, you can always tell him, hey, that's your blocking assignment there, or, you got a swing route here, or you got a wheel route, whatever. So I've never understood that. But Nat says Lingard is the running back to watch this year. So we shall see. All right, let's switch gears. Let's jump over to the defense. I know everybody was very down all year last year on the secondary. But I said going into the season, the defensive line was the problem. I think Carter and Cox are really good outside guys, but they were, Carter was playing down. He was out of position.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said it all week on my show. The 2 most important people on this football team this year are the 2 transfers from Auburn and Penn State. If they don't play the way that we think they can play, I think the defense will struggle again. I could be 100% wrong, but it all starts with the interior defensive linemen. Do you think those 2 guys can play at a level we need them to play at?
Well, of course, I sat down with Zach Carter, too. He says these guys are extremely powerful and surprisingly quick and agile. So we'll see. I mean, they're both 315 to 325 range and experienced guys. I mean, 5th-year guys. So they do need them to play well. I mean, Kyrie Campbell not playing early last year. Slayton was okay, but he never really fulfilled his promise. They struggled in there. I totally agree with you. And the depth wasn't there. It sounds like, you're talking to Zach Carter. I mean, he's all about the Gators and he's going to have a biased view, but he says Shelton and Newkirk are the real deal. Now, him moving back to end is one of the reasons he came back, because he wants to be able to play his natural position for the first time, because he's moved all around. And Cox, I think, needs to take a step, but Cox also is coming off a foot injury. He's not even going to be 100% according to Dan. So you have Bowman and Cox. I wrote a little item that's posted now about these 2, probably the 2 most high-profile transfers that Dan's gotten in 3 years, I would argue, are those 2 guys. And neither of them are really, one's learning the system because of injury, and the other's coming off injury and needs to get up to full speed, and that's Cox. He didn't set the edge against the run well at all last year. The Texas A&M game, I can still just see him. Running wide while Spiller was just running all over the Gators in the second half, right? He was not setting the edge. Carter says he's improved a lot at that during the spring. He really focused on it. That's key. Now, let's not forget Javon Dexter. He's a 5-star kid with a lot of promise, a lot of upside, size, agility at 6'6", 305 pounds. And this Princely, I wouldn't even take an attempt at his last name, but he is drawing a lot of, raves. So he's a kid to watch out for. And then I think the linebackers, Ventrell Miller, he's a solid performer. He's a good tackler. And I think Diabate, I think I said it on here talking before, if he's put on the weight he needed to, and he said that was his focus, and really gotten some, put on, 10 or 15 solid pounds because he was just a little light, I think that guy's got star potential. So, and there's a lot of pieces, again, a lot of options, a lot of opportunities, but they got to do it. I mean, that's this whole team in a lot of ways, right? And there's going to be a lot of opportunities, and it seems like there's talent and a lot of options there, but a lot of it's unproven.
Yeah. We play too many players. Too many guys are running in and out, and it just, I hopefully get your starting 11 and let them play until they're exhausted and can't play anymore. If you got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule a free consultation at QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. Check them out today. That's QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. A few more minutes with our good friend Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. All right, Edgar, two guys I want to ask about on defense that transferred. I think they played together in junior college. DeJuan Black, who seems like he was supposed to be like a senior by now for the Gators. Seems like his whole career has been going on for a long time, wanting to be a Gator. Can he help the team? And then he played with the kid that went to Missouri, but then ended up transferring here. I think his last name may be Perkins. Does he have a chance to step right in?
I think, yeah, it's funny because, I'd actually forgotten about Perkins, and I was reading something this morning. I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot to mention him. Because Kaiir Elam, you would think, is going to give you one side of the field. You got locked down pretty good with him. Now, I thought he had a slow start to last year, but I thought he came on, and I mean, he ended up all SEC, ended up tied for the SEC lead with 13 passes defense. So you got to feel good about Elam. But who's the other guy? Is it Jaden Hill? Is it this Jason Marshall, a 5-star kid from Miami, or is it Perkins from Missouri? I think, I mean, they have options there, but one of them's got to kind of rise to the occasion. Hill is the starter at present, but we'll see. And I think I like Hill. I liked what I saw. And I think he came out of high school as kind of a steal because he had blown out his ACL before his senior season. He's like the 278th recruit or something, I think he was rated. And you got to think he would have been a good bit higher, if not much higher, if not for missing a whole season there. But in terms of Black, I'm fascinated with DeJuan Black. I mean, this kid, if you go look at his history at Forest High School, I think it was in Mississippi. I mean, this kid is a sophomore, had like 12 interceptions and like 3 pick sixes playing safety. So that's some incredible like explosiveness, right? And versatility. And now he's a linebacker, and he had a bunch of sacks, maybe his junior year. So he brings a lot of different elements. Plus, he's got size. I mean, he's long. He's 6'3"-ish. I'm not sure what his weight is, but he's an intriguing guy and who wants to be a Gator. I mean, here's a guy who went to JUCO, did all this stuff, jumped through all these hoops, and stuck with his commitment. I think he would have been a junior now. I mean, I think he signed in 19. But anyway, he's ready to roll. I don't know a thing about him. I haven't seen him play a snap. But on paper, he's intriguing for sure.
Yeah. Facebook Live brought to you by Melon Law. Nat says the Gators got a new offensive lineman today from Clemson. Are you familiar with that?
Well, that's news to me. I need to go on Twitter, apparently.
Maybe it just broke just now. I don't know. I don't know if that guy would be eligible. Okay, speaking of recruiting or what have you, was anything brought up yesterday? Because I'm sure you hear it all the time, Edgar, whether it's on my show, other shows you're on. Some of the people in the Gator Nation still don't think Dan Mullen and his staff do a great job recruiting. They're going to recruit the players they want for their program. And I still try to tell people, I think our recruiting will get much better as it has, it seems like to me, because kids now see that complex being built. It wasn't just a drawing. In 4 or 5 years, we hope to have this football facility. And we haven't been on a level playing field. Did Mullen have to bring anything up about recruiting yesterday?
He doesn't go there. I mean, Dan's big mantra is always like, I have my own star system. We have our own vision of guys. Jamarcus Weston, who I spoke about a minute ago, and just kind of that thought dropped because I was curious what you'd seen from him, having gone to practice with your kid, your son, and all that stuff. That was a guy 3 signing classes ago now. Dan signed him. He's a redshirt sophomore now from Clewiston. Wasn't highly recruited. And Dan's like, this guy's a steal. He proclaimed that he was going to be a steal. So we'll see. But so that's how Dan looks at things. They're obviously very good at developing guys. That's their specialty. But it's easier to develop a guy with that high-end talent than not. But I'm also talking to a guy, was 5th on the depth chart and a walk-on, or you would have been a preferred walk-on or whatever maybe at the time. I don't know. Were you? You were a walk-on.
I was scholarship. I was scholarship.
Oh, you were? I'm sorry. Sorry.
But it's pretty much like being a walk-on, yeah.
Yeah, so bottom line, though, is, I mean, you can find those guys, but God, man, it's like Dan always jokes about Percy Harvin. It wasn't hard to, but we're talking about a legend, but it wasn't hard to see how good he was. It's like, Kyle Pitts. I mean, it's pretty easy to recruit a guy like that. It's the other guys that fill in, but you need a few of those. They've been getting them in the transfer portal. I mean, right? They've recruited 2 5-stars, Marshall and Dexter, but they've signed another 4 with Shorter, Cox, Bowman, and Lingard from transfers. This kid from Clemson, I'm just looking at, Caleb Boateng. Yeah. I mean, it sounds to me like he was the prize signing for Dabo, Fort Lauderdale High kid. I mean, he was recruited by Maryland, Arizona, Florida Atlantic, final guys. I mean, I don't know that he's going to come in and be a game changer, but man, depth and potential. I mean, you always want that at that position, and Hevesy obviously can coach those guys. But that's a great example, Hevesy. He's not landing, at least I'm not a big recruit, Nick, but what you hear is he's not landing his primary targets or the top guys that he wants. So he's having to develop guys. But you look at an Ethan White situation, you get a kid like that. I mean, he's 319 now. He's down like 80 pounds or something from when he arrived here, and he's going to start. And I think there's a lot of high hopes for him. So development is huge, obviously.
Speaking of recruiting, this year's team is pretty much all of Dan's and his staff's recruits, except for the kids from the transfer portal, right?
Carter was a McElwain guy for sure. I do know that. Ventrell Miller was.
Okay.
They got right. I mean, both of them were. I think Trey Dean. I'm not sure who he was. I mean, he's a 4th.
Okay, so it's still a few McElwain guys on it.
But definitely Carter and Miller were.
All right. Well, Edgar, before I let you go, I have to ask you about, I didn't even realize the St. Jude Classic golf event was going on this week. I thought they were going to take a week off once those kids got back from the Olympics. But I know you follow golf. You excited because the playoffs and the Tour Championship, all that's come up. Anything surprised you? Colin Morikawa, how he played at the British Open, surprised you at all?
I mean, I do love golf, man. I really was bummed because I had my godson and really great friends of mine were around last Sunday. I'm down at the Breakers. I went down. That was fun hanging out down there. I mean, seeing how the other half live. But I missed the dang Olympics, man. I was very bummed, especially, but the timing was terrible. Yeah, I'm interested to see. Yeah, look, I'll watch pro golf, man. I mean, the playoffs, there's just something missing with them a little bit, right? But it is funny. You see this field this week, and a bunch of guys like got on a plane from Tokyo and got to Memphis to play in this. I mean, it's like that pile of money is a motivator. Yeah. But yeah, Morikawa winning was spectacular. I was kind of pulling for Louis. You know, Louis living in Ocala now, right?
Yeah.
And he plays at Golden Ocala. He's such a class guy. I would have liked to have seen him. But Morikawa could be the next star. You just don't know. The game's so deep. It's younger and younger. I mean, right? Didn't you just have to be like have some gray hairs to like compete in that game? Now it's all about speed, man. I mean, the younger, the faster you move your body, the farther you hit it. You basically just need driver, wedge, putter anymore. The game's changed completely. But, you know, it's fascinating to watch, and you never know who's going to win. I mean, every week it's like, you know, it's amazing competition. And Sunday, for people who don't like golf or aren't big fans, at least tune in on Sundays in the back nine, and you'll see why it's such a riveting sport to watch, is because the pressure and the competition is pretty special in that sport.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really weird watching these pro golfers at the Olympics. 7 of them had to go back out and have a playoff for third place.
Yeah, and I mean, you heard what Rory said. He goes, "I never wanted to finish third in my life so badly," and it was pretty amazing. It would have been nice to see Hideki. I mean, you got the Rory Sabatini controversy because he's playing for Slovakia or whatever because of his wife being from there. But give the guy credit, man. He went out and shot a 61 with 2 bogeys. My Lord, right?
Yep, he golfed his ball, no question about it. All right, Edgar, good stuff as always. Let everybody know how they can check out your work.
OS Gators on Twitter and OrlandoSentinel.com. Thanks, Shane. I always appreciate the platform and the conversation, man.
Yep, thank you for your time. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon, bud.
Yes, sir. See ya.
That's Edgar Thompson of the Orlando Sentinel. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. Going to take our final time out of this Friday edition. Come back. We'll wrap up this program.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Silverback Concrete Company. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Center State Bank is now South State Bank, but we still put business first. We understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State still has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. I want to thank Edgar Thompson for joining us on the Titan MR Hotline. We got a couple people here that said Kyle Pitts was a 3-star, I believe, and that is correct. Yeah, he was not really highly recruited, I don't believe, out of Philadelphia or somewhere up in Pennsylvania. But I hope you enjoyed this week's lineup. Next week, we'll be cranking away. We'll be right in the middle of NFL training camps and college camps, not far away. Cliff says it is not completely overrated, but is somewhat, I understand talent does matter, but I've seen 4- and 5-star players who were bust and 3-star players who ended up being All-Americans. Look at Kirby Smart, great recruiter, but can't develop. Yeah, it just depends. You never know how they're going to turn out. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday, folks. Take care.